Hey everybody, this is Mr. Beckstrom, and today we're going to go over section 1.4 in the book. This is on percent problems. And the entire section here is built around this one formula here that says P over B is equal to R over 100. So what the heck does that mean? Let's kind of break this down a little bit. So the P is going to be the part. That's going to be the part of some fraction, right? It's going to be the top part of some fraction. The B is going to be the base of the fraction. Sometimes it's called the whole. R is going to be the rate in percent form. And just finally we have the 100, which that's always going to stay the same. So we have some words that are associated with these because we're mainly going to be doing word problems in this section here. And we have to kind of identify which value is which one of these variables here. So we have some good ways to kind of locate that. So the part is usually associated with the word is. So if we see that like 17 is, then we know 17 is the P, and we're going to replace that P with the 17. The base is often associated with the word of. Not all of the time, but most of the time. So if we see something in our word problem that says like of 120, we would replace the B with 120. And then finally the rate is basically the percentage. So if we see something that says 15% of all people, we would replace the R with 15. Now with a lot of formulas, we replace it with the decimal form, so it would be like 0.15. But with this formula, we leave it in the percent numbers. So if it was 15%, we would replace the R with 15 and not 0.15. All right, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and look at a couple of examples, and I want you to try them out. Pause the video and try them out when we look at them, and then we'll go over the solution in detail. All right, so the first one says 30% of what number is equal to 12. So let's kind of use what we just said about each one of these variables and then break it down, put it into the proportion formula, and then we're going to cross multiply and divide. That's what we learned in the last section. So go ahead and see if you can get this set up and solve it if possible, and then unpause the video. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I would like to identify my variables, and then there's always going to be one variable in these problems that we don't have, so that's what we're going to be solving for. So in this case, we see the percent here, so that makes it easy. We're going to replace the R with 30, so it'll be 30 over 100 on this side. And then on this side here, it says of what number. So of corresponds to base, and this is what number, so we don't know what that is. So already I know that the base is the value that we are going to be solving for. And then is equal to 12. So is corresponds to the part. So that means that 12 is going to go on the top over here. Remember, it's just according to this over here. Now, once we have everything together, we're just going to cross multiply and divide. So 30 times B, that's this cross multiplication, is equal to 12 times 100, which is 1200. And then we're going to divide both sides by B. Remember, cross multiply, and then we're going to divide by the number being multiplied by the B. And finally, B is equal to 1200 divided by 30, which should be equal to 40. Let me double check my math. So 1200, divided by 30 is equal to 40. And that would be the answer. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one here. Just a moment. All right, this one says 260% of 8.5 is, and then we have a blank. Notice that this is in a different form than the last one. So go ahead, identify your variables, put it into the formula, and then I want you to try to cross multiply divide to get your answer. So pause the video and then we'll be right back. All right, so well, let's go ahead this time and we'll kind of write out our proportion equals 2 over 100. Remember, this is always going to be the same starting proportion, and then the 260 has the percent next to it, so we know the 260 goes where the R goes here. And then it says of 8.5, and we know that of is corresponding to the base, so we're going to replace the base with 8.5. And finally is, we have a blank, so that's going to be our variable, our unknown. So cross multiply and divide, we're going to have 100 times P. That's this one. Now remember, last time I did this diagonal first. It doesn't matter which diagonal that you do first. Is equal to, and then 8.5 times 260. So 8.5 times 260 is 2,210. So this is equal to 2,210. And then we're going to divide both sides by the number that's multiplying our variable, so we can get rid of that number. So those cancel out, and we're going to have that P is equal to 2210 divided by 100. Dividing by 100 just moves the decimal place 2 to the left, so this is going to be equal to 22.1. So 260% of 8.5 is 22.1. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at another one here. All right, this is a pretty short one here, and it just says what percent of 16 is 7. So go ahead and pause the video now, see if you can solve that, and then we'll go through the solution. All right, let's set up my proportion like we did before. So we have both sides, both the ratios, and then we always start with 100 down here. Now it says of 16. We know that of is associated with the base, so the 16 goes down here. Is 27. We know is associated with the part, so that goes up here. And finally, it says what percent. So that's going to be our unknown value here. So I'm just going to leave an R there. And we're going to cross multiply and divide. So that's going to be 16 times R is equal to 700. Right? 7 times 100. So 16 times R is equal to 7 times 100, which is 700. Now remember, we're going to divide both sides by 16 and do that, and we're going to get R is equal to 700 divided by 16. So let's see what that is. 700 divided by 16 is 43.75. So our 43.75. So our final answer would be 43.75% of 16 is 7. All right, let's do one last more complicated word problem, and we'll call it there. All right, so for this one it says the weight distribution of a vehicle specifies that the front wheels carry 54% of the weight. If a certain vehicle weighs 3,860 pounds, what weight is carried by the front wheels? Round to the nearest pound. Alright, so this one we're not going to be able to use this as much as we did in the previous questions. We're going to really have to kind of understand what these numbers are and use a little bit of process of elimination. So let's do what we did before and set up our portion here and go ahead and give it a try. See if you can solve that, see if you get the numbers in the right places, and then we'll go through the solution. So pause now. Alright, so we know 100 goes down here, and looking in it we do see a percentage here, so we know that's R, so we know the 54 is going to go over here. The big question comes is, where does this 3,860 go? Is that going to be in the part or the base, which is the whole? And they don't use those key words for us to kind of help us figure out which one it is. So we're going to have to really think about this a little bit logically. Alright, so remember, the part, that's the part of the whole, right? That's going to be some section of the whole, and the bottom is going to be the whole thing. So let's say, you know, a dozen eggs would be our whole, then 3 of those eggs would be part of that whole, right? So we have to kind of figure out which one is they talking about is the whole and which one is the part. Well, it says if a certain vehicle weighs 3,860 pounds, what weight is carried by the front wheels? Well, the front wheels is just part of the whole vehicle, right? So the weight carried by the front wheels is just part of the weight carried by the whole vehicle. So that tells me that here we are solving for the part. And this 3,860 corresponds to the weight of the whole vehicle, So that's going to go down here under base. 3,860. And then once I have it set up, all it is cross multiplying and dividing. So this is going to be 100 times P is equal to, and that's going to be 54 times 3860. Ooh, that's a lot. 208,440. So 208,440. 208,440. So 208,440. Just going too quick there. So that will cross out the 100s, and then we will have 208,440 divided by 100. That just moves the decimal place 2 to the left, so it'll start here, 1, 2. So our final answer will be 208.4. And what that means is that 200, and it says 2,084, because this 4 over here is 4 or less, so we keep this number the same. So it would be 2,084 pounds. And that would be the weight carried by the front wheels. All right, everybody. I hope this made some sense. If you have any questions, please either use the forums or send me an email or both. And I hope everybody has a great week. Thanks.